Well, hello and namaste. My name is Nidhi Nagori. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to discuss some interesting, crazy stuff that's happening in Canada. Our dear Minister Honorable Sean Fraser has announced some interesting changes that I'm going to be discussing with you today. Some of these will come in line at some point in 2023. Some of these will come in by the end of 2020. And this could really impact your chances of moving to Canada. So make sure you watch this video till the end to understand what would apply to your own situation. And on that note, intro kick in. So all of this happened on June 27, 2023, fairly new and recent, and our dear Minister Honorable Sean Fraser announced a lot of changes in what's supposed to be called Canada's first tech talent pathway. And I'm sure at this point you're like, oh my god, my heart is broken, I'm not an IT. Well, hold on, because that's just the tech talent pathway that he discussed on June 27. He also announced a lot of other changes for different pathways, and we're going to cover all of that in this video. So make sure your eyes and ears are on the screen. First, let's talk about what's coming up in the tech talent pathway. I think the most interesting feature, according to me, is the fact that there's going to be an open work permit option for all the H-1B people who are currently living in the US. An open work permit, in simple terms, means that you can come in and work for any employer that you might want to in Canada. And I think that's just amazing, because the immigration situation for a couple of us, especially when you come from India, Philippines, or China, is just not fun and not nice to go through when you're living in the States. And I know this as a first-hand experience, because that was literally the #1 reason why I considered moving out. If you haven't watched my video on why I left the US, please do so. I'm gonna pop a thumbnail here. You see my lovely husband there. We both share our reasons of leaving the US. And I say this with a lot of conviction. The reason #1 was really the immigration delays. So I'm so glad that now Canada is giving that option out to people, and people who are on H-1B in the US don't have to feel like all their life is tied to this certainty of having a job or not. Obviously, that means more freedom, and to me, this is the best thing about this tech talent pathway. The second biggest change that I absolutely love, and I feel like it was high time that Canada did it, was an introduction of what's called an open work permit for highly qualified individuals. This can potentially be a job seeker visa. I'm going to read out the line to you, and then I'll explain why I think it's a job seeker visa. So they say that it will be a development of an innovation stream under the International Mobility Program to attract highly talented individuals, options for which include open work permits for up to 5 years for highly skilled workers in select in-demand occupations. This is obviously the point #2 on the document. Now, I think it's a job seeker visa because the employer-specific permit is already spoken of in point #1. So let's go to point #1. It says that it will be an employer-specific permit for up to 5 years for workers destined to work for a company identified by the Government of Canada as contributing to our industrial innovation goals. So that's point #1, that's employer-specific work permit. Point #2 is open work permit for people who are highly qualified and are in demand occupations, and that's going to be your job seeker visa. Oh my god, Canada is coming up with a job seeker visa. Even as I say this, I can't believe it. Apart from this, they're going back to a 14-day strategy for global skills strategy. That was a new visa that came out in end of 2021. When Omicron was just hitting the markets, this visa was announced. I know of it because I have a very close friend who's moved on it. And on that note, while chatting with you, I realized that we also have a Canada masterclass where my friend was a mentor, just like I was mentioning. I'll leave the link in the description box. So if you are considering moving to Canada, you need resources. We have more than 200 recruitment firms that you can reach out to, different pathways that you can use. Of course, there are more than 120 pathways in Canada, so please make sure that you take a look at the course and see if it's a good fit for you. And the goal when this work permit was launched was to give people this work permit in 2 weeks. That wasn't happening because of obviously pandemic, delays, etc. They are planning to move back to the 2-week timeline for this. Just so that you know, this is basically a no interview visa. So you submit your paperwork and your visa is granted within 2 weeks, you move to Canada. After this, Canada is also starting a digital nomad visa, which is going to be for freelancers. Isn't that amazing? As I say this, like job seeker visa, freelancer visa. These are just amazing steps that Canada is taking towards attracting the right set of individuals. And they'll also be setting up a detailed STEM-based pathway. STEM is science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So they're going to set up a whole pathway for STEM in the express entry. I've covered it on my Instagram a little bit, but I don't think it's been explained in a lot of details as to how they're going to go about it. They have been issuing some invitations under this. The first set has gone to healthcare workers, and very rightfully so. So I feel like they're going to come up with more detailed info about how they're going to set up a whole specialized pathway for STEM workers. Apart from this, they're also including a lot of changes for the startup visa program. This means that they're allocating more spots for it. You will also get an open work permit for 3 years instead of 1 year. And this particular open work permit will not be issued just to people who are absolutely needed. This will be issued to anybody in your team. So if you have a startup idea and if you want to move to Canada, take that idea to Canada, now it's possible and everybody in your team can get a work permit. Of course, they will be prioritizing applications that already have a venture funding, that have any kind of revenue. Basically, if you have an income generating idea, then you can definitely consider moving to Canada on that. Now let's break all of this down. So first up is of course the job seeker visa. If you are in an occupation that's in good demand and healthy demand, you will be able to apply for that and get an open work permit for 5 years. If you have an idea of your own, you can either come under the startup visa. If it's not an idea that's making insane amount of money, you can consider coming under the digital nomad or the freelance visa that they will be introducing. Now, if you're somebody in STEM, I highly recommend that you apply for the Canadian PR under the STEM pathway once it is established in more details. And of course, if you're on an H-1B in the US, this is your time to apply for an open work permit in Canada. Apart from this, there's also a healthcare priority pathway that has been introduced in the express entry, and the government has been sending invites to people who are in healthcare. Obviously, preference will be given to direct healthcare workers, meaning if you are directly involved in patient care, and that could be through any means. You could be a physician, nurse, doctor, a technician, etc. So a lot of categories listed down in there. But if you are involved in direct patient care, higher chance that you will get an invite sooner. I personally think in so many ways, Canada is coming closer to Europe in terms of strategizing how it wants to plan its immigration and how it wants to get people in. And I'm so glad that even Canada realizes that talent is in shortage everywhere globally. So it doesn't matter what your field is, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you have a skill that's in demand in Canada and local talent is not available to fulfill it, you will be here. Obviously, we await a lot more decisions and announcements on these. Right now, this pathway has only been announced, and I know the government is fine-tuning a lot of details. But as any info comes out, and as soon as it comes out, you'll either see it on my Instagram, so make sure to follow me there, or on my YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to this channel, or on LinkedIn, TikTok. Oh my god, I am just omnipresent. No, I'm kidding. You can follow me on some social media channels so that you're mostly covered, especially if you are planning to move to Canada. I will be making more detailed videos as and when we start getting onto this process in more details, and as soon as more info is available and announced by our Honorable Minister again. I hope that you like this video. I hope that it has given you some clarity around how you can plan your move to Canada. The older options still remain available, so if there were any older options that you were considering, none of those are going away. These are just additions, so more options in terms of what pathways you can be looking at. On that note, this video has come to an end. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, because you see such videos coming out way too often. Oh boy, so much fun happening right on this channel. Let me know in the comments what you think about the strategy, anything else that you'd want to know from me about Canada in general. And obviously check the description for the link to the Canadian masterclass that we did. We had so many mentors coming in and explaining their pathway of moving to Canada on a work permit. Until I see you again, stay safe, take care, namaste.